Bogotá is the capital city of Colombia and of the department of Cundinamarca, with a population of 7,878,783 in 2015. Bogotá and its metropolitan area had a population of over 9 million for 2015, and is expected to have around 12 million inhabitants by 2030. In terms of land area, Bogotá is the largest city in Colombia, and one of the biggest in Latin America. It figures among the 33 largest cities of the world and is the third highest capital city in South America at 2,640 meters above sea level, after La Paz and Quito. With its many museums, cultural festivals, universities and libraries, Bogotá has been called the Athens of South America. The city is listed as a Beta Global City by the GAWC. History. The area of modern Bogotá was first populated by groups of indigenous people who migrated south. Among these groups were the Muiscas, who settled mainly in the regions that we know today as the departments of Cundinamarca and Boyacá. With the arrival of the Spanish colonizers, the area became a major settlement, founded by Gonzalo Jiménez de Quesada and later capital of the Spanish provinces and the seat of the Viceroyalty of New Granada. With independence, Bogotá became capital of the Gran Colombia and later the capital of the Republic of Colombia. Pre-Columbian era, the first populations inhabiting Bogotá were the Muiscas, members of the Chibcha language family. At the arrival of the conquerors, the population was estimated to be 500,000 indigenous people. They occupied the highland and mild climate flanks between the Sumapaz Mountains to the southwest and Cocui's snowy peak to the northeast, covering an approximate area of 25,000 square kilometers, comprising Bogotá's high plain, the current Boyacá department portion and a small Santander region. In this area, the population was organized in two large federations, each commanded by a chief. The southwest area was dominated by the Zipa, with the center located in Bogotá, currently Bogotá. He was the strongest leader, occupying 2/5 of the territory. The northeast zone was the Zac domain and the center was Hunza region, currently Tunya. Unlike the Taironas, the Muiscas did not develop large cities. Muisca, eminently farmers, formed a dispersed population occupying numerous small villages and hut settlements. Gonzalo Jiménez de Quesada expedition from 1533, a belief persisted that the Rio Grande de la Magdalena was the trail to the South Sea, to Peru. Legendary El Dorado. Such was the target of Gonzalo Jiménez de Quesada, the Spaniard conqueror who left Santa Marta on 6 April 1536 with 500 soldiers, heading towards the interior of current Colombia. The expedition divided into two groups, one under Quesada's command to move on land, and the other commanded by Diego de Urbino would go upriver in 4 brigantine ships to, later on, meet Quesada troops at the site named Torre de las Barrancas Bermejas. When they arrived, they heard news about Indians inhabiting the south and making large salt cakes used to trade for wild cotton and fish. Jiménez decided to abandon the route to Peru and cross the mountain in search of salt villages. They saw crops, trails, white salt cakes and then huts where they found corn, yucca and beans. From Torre, the expedition went up the Opone River and found Indians covered with very finely painted cotton mats. When they arrived to Grita Valley, of the expedition leaving Santa Marta, only 70 men were left. Spanish colonization following the conqueror's motto to found and to populate. Quesada decided to build an urban settlement to live in good order and under stable government. On the other side to Plaza de Bolivar, the chapter and the royal audience were located. The street joining the major plaza and Herb's Plaza, currently Santander Park, was named Cal Real, now 7th Carrera. Formed by whites, mestizos, Indians, and slaves. From the second half of the 16th century, the population began rapidly growing. The 1789 census recorded 18,161 inhabitants, and by 1819, the city population amounted to 30,000 inhabitants distributed in 195 blocks. Importance grew when the diocese was created. The city mayor and the chapter, formed by 2 councilmen, assisted by the constable and the police chief, governed the city. For better administering these domains, in April 1550, the Audience of Santa Fe de Bogotá was organized. At that time, the city became the capital and the home of new Kingdom of Granada government. 14 years later, in 1564, the Spanish crown designated the first royal audience chairman, Andrés Diaz Venero de Leyva. 19th century political uneasiness felt all over Spanish colonies in America was expressed in New Granada in many different ways, accelerating the movement to independence. One of the most transcendent was the Revolution of Comuneros. A riot of the inhabitants started in Villa del Socorro, current department of Santander, in March 1781. Spanish authorities suppressed the riot, and José Antonio Galán, the leader, was executed. He left an imprint, though. He was followed in 1794 by Antonio Nariño, precursor of independence, by translating and publishing in Santa Fe, The Rights of Men and the Citizen, and by the 20th of July movement leaders in 1810. Between 1819 and 1849, there were no fundamental structural changes from the colonial period. By the mid-19th century, a series of fundamental reforms were enacted, some of the most important being slavery abolition and religious teaching, print and speech industry and trade freedom, among others. During the decade of the 70s, radicalism accelerated reforms and state and social institutions were substantially modified. However, during the second half of the century, the country faced permanent pronouncements, declarations of rebellions between states, and factions which resulted in civil wars. The last and bloodiest was the Thousand Days' War from 1899 to 1902. In 1823, a few years after the formation of Gran Colombia, the public library, now the National Library, was enlarged and modernized with new volumes and better facilities. The National Museum was founded. Those institutions were of great importance to the new republic's cultural development. The Central University was the first state school, precursor of the current National University, founded in 1867 and domiciled in Bogotá. Tramway. On 25 December 1884, the first tramway pulled by mules was inaugurated, and covered the route from Plaza de Bolívar to Chapinero, and in 1892, the line linking Plaza de Bolívar and La Sabana station started operating. The tramway ran over wood rails and would easily derailed, so steel rails imported from England were eventually installed. In 1894, a tramway car ran the Bogotá-Chapinero line every 20 minutes. The tramway provided services until 1948, and was then replaced by buses. Regeneration. President Rafael Núñez declared the end of federalism, and in 1886 the country became a centralist republic ruled by the constitution in force, save some amendments, up to 1981. In the middle of political and administration avatars, Bogotá continued as the capital and principal political center of the country. From a base of only 20,000 people in 1793, the city grew to 117,000 in 1912. Population growth was rapid after 1870, largely because of immigration from the Eastern Highlands. 20th century. Early in the 20th century, Colombia had to face devastating consequences from the 1,000 Days' War, which lasted from 1899 to 1902, and the loss of Panama. Between 1904 and 1909, the lawfulness of the Liberal Party was re-established and President Rafael Reyes endeavored to implement a national government. Peace and state reorganization generated the increase of economic activities. Bogotá started deep architectural and urban transformation with significant industrial and artisan production increases. In 1910, the Industrial Exposition of the Century took place at Park of Independence. Stands built evidenced industrial, artisan work, beaux-arts, electricity and machinery progress achieved. The period from 1910 to 1930 is designated conservative hegemony. Between 1924 and 1928, hard union struggles began, with oil fields and banana zone workers' strikes, leaving numerous people dead. Bogotá had practically no industry. Production was basically artisan work grouped in specific places, similar to commercial sectors. Plaza de Bolivar and surroundings lodged hat stores. At Cal del Comercio, current Carrera 7th, and Cal Florian, now Carrera 8th, luxurious stores selling imported products opened their doors. At Passage Hernandez, tailors' shops provided their services, and between 1870 and 1883, 4 main banks opened their doors: Bogotá, Colombia, Popular and Mortgage Credit Banks. Following the Banana Zone killings and Conservative Party division, Enrique Olaya Herrera took office in 1930. The Liberal Party reformed during 16 years of the so-called Liberal Republic: agricultural, social, political, labor, educational, economic and administrative sectors. Unionism strengthened and education coverage expanded. The celebration produced a large number of infrastructure works, new construction and work sources. Following the 1946 Liberal Party division, a conservative candidate took presidential office again in 1948. After the killing of Liberal leader Jorge Eliezer Gaitán, Bogotá's downtown was virtually destroyed as violence reigned. From then, Bogotá's urban, architectural and population sectors were substantially reorganized. Geography. Bogotá is located on the west of the savanna of Bogotá, 2,640 meters above sea level. Although it is located in what is popularly called savanna, the geographical site is actually a high plateau in the Andes Mountains. The extended region is also known as Altiplano Cundinamarquense, which literally means high plateau of Cundinamarca and Boyacá. Within Bogotá's district, the world's largest continuous paramo ecosystem can be found, which is located in the Sumapaz locality. The Bogotá River crosses the Sabana, forming Tequendama Falls to the south. Tributary rivers form valleys with flourishing villages, whose economy is based on agriculture, livestock raising and artisanal production. The Sabana is bordered to the east by the eastern Cordillera of the Andes mountain range. Surrounding hills, which limit city growth, run from south to north, parallel to the Guadalupe and Montserrat Mountains. The western city limit is the Bogotá River. The Sumapaz Paramo borders the south, and to the north Bogotá extends over the plateau up to the towns of Chía and Sopo. Climate. Bogotá has a subtropical highland climate. The average temperature is 14.5 degrees Celsius, and it varies from 6 to 19 degrees Celsius in fair skies days, to 10 to 18 degrees Celsius in heavy rain days. Dry and rainy seasons alternate throughout the year. The driest months are December, January, July and August. The warmest month is March, bringing a maximum of 19.7 degrees Celsius. The coolest nights occur in January, with an average of 7.6 degrees Celsius in the city. Fog is very usual in early morning, 220 days per year, whilst sunny days are quite unusual. The official highest temperature recorded within the city limits is 30.0 degrees Celsius, and the lowest temperature recorded is -7.1 degrees Celsius. The rainiest months are April, May, September, October and November, in which typical days are mostly overcast, with low clouds and some winds, bringing maximum temperatures of 18 degrees Celsius and lows of 7 degrees Celsius. Urban layout and nomenclature. Bogotá has 20 localities, or districts, forming an extensive network of neighborhoods. Areas of higher economic status tend to be located to the north and northeast, close to the foothills of the eastern Cordillera. Poorer neighborhoods are located to the south and southeast, many of them squatter areas. The middle classes usually inhabit the central, western and northwestern sections of the city. The urban layout in the center of the city is based on the focal point of a square or plaza, typical of Spanish-founded settlements. But the layout gradually becomes more modern in outlying neighborhoods. The current types of roads are classified as calles, which run perpendicular to the Cordillera, with street numbers increasing towards the north, and also towards the south from Cal 0. Carreras run parallel to the hills, with numbering increasing as one travels east or west of Carrera 1. At the southeast of the city, the addresses are logically sur-est. Other types of roads more common in newer parts of the city may be termed EJE, diagonal or transversal. The numbering system for street addresses recently changed, and numbers are assigned according to street rank from main avenues to smaller avenues and local streets. Some of Bogotá's main roads, which also go by a proper name in addition to a number, are Norte Quito Sur NQS, Autopista Norte, Avenida Caracas, Avenida Circunvala, Avenida Suba, Avenida El Dorado, Avenida de las Américas, Avenida Primero de Mayo South Street, Avenida Ciudad de Cali, Avenida Boyacá, Autopista Sur. Localities surrounding cities. Demographics. The largest and most populous city in Colombia, Bogotá had 6,778,691 inhabitants within the city's limits, with a population density of approximately 4,310 inhabitants per square kilometer. Only 15,810 people are located in rural areas of Capital District. 47.5% of the population are male and 52.5% women. In Bogotá, as in the rest of the country, urbanization has accelerated due to industrialization as well as complex political and social reasons such as poverty and violence, which led to migration from rural to urban areas throughout the 20th and 21st centuries. A dramatic example of this is the number of displaced people who have arrived in Bogotá due to the internal armed conflict. Some estimates show that Bogotá's floating population may be as high as 4 million people, most of them being migrant workers from other departments and displaced people. The majority of the displaced population lives in the Ciudad Bolívar, Kennedy, USME, and Bosa sections. The ethnic composition of the city's population includes minorities of Afro-Colombian people and indigenous Amerindians. 98.27% of the population has no ethnic affiliation. Crime. Bogotá has gone to great lengths to change its crime rate and its image with increasing success after being considered in the 1990s to be one of the most violent cities in the world. In 1993 there were 4,352 intentional homicides at a rate of 81 per 100,000 people. In 2007, Bogotá suffered 1,401 murders at a rate of 19 per 100,000 inhabitants, and had a further reduction to 16.9 per 100,000 inhabitants in 2012. This success was the result of a participatory and integrated security policy, Comunidad Segura, that was first adopted in 1995 and continues to be enforced. Government. Bogotá is the capital of the Republic of Colombia, and houses the Congress, Supreme Court of Justice and the center of the executive administration as well as the residence of the president. These buildings, along with the office of the mayor, the Livorno Palace, are located within a few meters from each other on the Bolivar Square. The square is located in the city's historical center, La Candelaria, which features architecture in Spanish colonial and Spanish Baroque styles. The mayor of Bogotá and district council, both elected by popular vote, are responsible for city administration. In 2015, Enrique Peñalosa Londino was elected mayor. His term runs from 2016 to 2020. Previous recent mayors of Bogotá include Luis Eduardo Garzón, Samuel Moreno, Antanis Mocas Cívicas, Enrique Peñalosa and Gustavo Petro. The city is divided into 20 localities: Usaquén, Chapinero, Santa Fe, San Cristobal, USME, Tunjalito, Bosa, Kennedy, Fontibon, Engativá, Suba, Barrios Unidos, Tusaquillo, Los Martires, Antonio Nariño, Puente Aranda, La Candelaria, Rafael Uribe, Ciudad Bolívar, Sumapaz. Each of the 20 localities is governed by an administrative board elected by popular vote, made up of no fewer than 7 members. The mayor designates local mayors from candidates nominated by the respective administrative board.